Of the agenda, mover, Councillor Vaughn and Councillor Allen. All in favor? Carried. Pecuniary interest, any? None noted. Okay. Well, go to Sharon for her report then.
Yeah. So to recap, we have received 3 proposals at council's request. So we didn't do a formal request for proposal process. We asked for informal quotations. In the essence of time, we want to get this process moving quickly. So we received a proposal from Warden Updegrove in the amount of, report is on here now.
15.
Yeah. Apologies. Bear with me a moment, please. There we go. 15,420 plus HST. It does not include job ads, and the timeline is quite lengthy on that one, 26 weeks. So that is something that council may want to consider as a factor. Nigel Bell Chamber and Associates was the highest quote received at a cost of $22,650 plus HST, and it does include the job ads. I would expect, I think he was estimating around $1,600 for job ads in there, and you'll spend all of that. By the time you work with some of the associations that we deal with, Municipal World, possibly AMCTO, some of those ads are $1,000 each. So $1,600 for an advertising budget is quite light, in my opinion, for a CAO recruitment. The timeline there is quite attractive at 60 days. And you'd have a notice period probably of at least a month for a CAO. And the Ravenhill group came in at a cost of $18,000 plus HST, and that does not include job ads, and the timeline is around 17 weeks. So all of the proposals include a process to determine best fit. So that would be working with councils and the senior management team to determine who's gonna fit what you wanna see for a CAO. Some of them are a little more in-depth in their proposals as to the work that they're gonna do. So Warden Updegrove, their standard process involves working with the councils and the senior management team to really determine the qualities that you want to see in a CAO. And they actually do personality trait assessment with council and the senior management team so that they can see the dynamic of the senior management team and the type of leader that would align with that. And I think you're seeing some more formalized work in that regard in the Ravenhill proposal. Perhaps you could let me know, when you used Nigel Bell Chamber last time, did you do anything similar? I know when I interviewed, I did a personality trait assessment. Was there anything with the management team that you did?
I don't think so. Discussions.
There was discussions.
We did come in and meet the senior management team and just had a very brief discussion with us. Yes, he did.
Okay. So has everybody got a hard copy or it's printed?
It didn't come to my, I didn't get it.
Sorry. We're having a little technical difficulty here. What I need now is, I need to log into that again. So.
People say.
Hopefully that's your plan. So I know that Dan from Ravenhill requested a meeting with the Reeve, and that is their typical process when they're working with the recruitment. So maybe at this time, if we would let
Okay.
Neil.
That Wednesday at 1:30, that I met with Dan Hughes from Ravenhill. He is a very experienced recruiter, a couple of decades basically in the area. The one thing that I found is that they are all across Canada, and that in some of their general information and pamphlets, they advertised filling positions all across Canada, rather than zeroing in on southwestern Ontario. But his point is that you never know where people that grew up in this area have gone, and maybe they aren't necessarily looking for a job, but if a job became available that would fit their qualifications and stuff, they might like to come back. And so that I would say that is one of the big selling points on Ravenhill, is that they have a very wide distribution network. The heck is it? About 4,000 people working within the municipal system get their monthly newsletter and things like that, so that they are well known all through the municipal system. I gather that Dan and his partner in Toronto are the principals of the company, and they have support staff.
And I would say recruitment is their primary business.
Municipal recruitment is their number one business. And that
So
that I have no reason to make any comment that there was nothing as an air of, well, that we can do everything better than anybody else. It's, we work in this system, we have 2 decades of experience. It is our only job. They have the 1-year guarantee that if the person that they find doesn't stay a year, it goes back to square one and they start over again for us. That I understand that it's very rare, but it has happened where a person, maybe 6 or 7 months, finds something else, and that Dan said it was maybe his fault. But person that they found a position for, he was only looking for a part-time position and wasn't quite willing to state that he wasn't going to be looking within the year. And so that he said they had to go back and refill that position, but they stand behind their work.
So there are no concerns from a a preliminary review of these proposals about any of the recruiters not being able to do the job. I think they're all qualified to do the job. They have experience with recruitment. It really is going to be a matter of who council feels comfortable with. I think timelines are going to be an issue for you. You want to see the position filled as quickly as possible. And any of those nuances may be, what is the primary focus of the company? Are they first and foremost recruiters, or do they have other lines of business and recruiting is just part of that? So if you're looking at Warden Up to Grove, they're a human resources consultant. Their reach is the municipalities that they work with, right? So Ben Cornell would work with many CAOs throughout southwestern Ontario, I would say, and that would be sort of their reach. I know that Neil said with Ravenhill, it is a company that may have a further reach.
Yeah. Bill,
Can I make my general assessment at this point in time? Warden Up to Grove, I find to be just owners. I mean, they love to generate reports. And when I see their proposal, it covers enough pages, we could have killed the forest. And I find that their timeline is extremely long, and that's probably one of the reasons why they like to generate lots of reports and pictures. Not overly impressive for me. I mean, we can't afford a 26-week timeline. Ravenhill Group and Bell Chamber, both actually, when I look at it, I figure they're probably going to come in about the same. The point of Ravenhill being across a national basis, I hesitate. I do not think that we would be well advised to be hiring anybody that does not have Ontario municipal experience at this time. We have far too much on the plate to wait for somebody from Alberta to play catch up on the Ontario rules because they are different. So although that might be a benefit if we had an extended period of time, I would scratch that off the list. We can do all the assessments, but I do believe that Bell Chamber, Nigel has worked with us on a couple of projects now. I think he knows us well enough that we can count on him, the personality profile kind of thing. I think he probably has a pretty good handle on that. And because of that and the fact that his timeline is 60 days, and of course he's going to have performance penalties in that, isn't he? So, so Nigel's $1,000 a week off after the 8th week.
Well, he's never billed you for drinking.
This is a public meeting, but that's it.
I know, but it's the truth.
We don't, that's showing up. Yes, and I agree, but I don't think that should be our premise for it. I think Nigel did an excellent job in the last hire, our current CAO. As I said, I think he knows us well enough now, and that's probably one of the reasons he feels he can do it in 60 days. He may already have some candidates that he think would fit in here. So I mean, if I had to go on the basis that right now, I'd just go, let's go with Nigel and do it.
sure.
One thing I will comment, when I spoke to Nigel verbally, he did say that this was sort of the upset limit. So it could come in less than this. But he has sort of estimated the maximum amount of time that he feels the recruitment would take.
Right.
My comment here too is, Sharon had said that it's approximately maybe $1,600 for do the job ads.
Advertising.
That is kind of open too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe go 2,000 or better. So when I add them on to the two other ones, it starts to bring that price a little closer together.
Yeah, it does. James,
I feel very confident in Nigel. He has worked with us before. Very easy to work with for us. And I feel he did a real good job. I think when it comes down to cost, when we're all said and done, there's not going to be a whole lot of difference from any of them. And I would certainly lean towards Nigel myself.
Brock?
I agree with all of those comments about Nigel. I feel very comfortable with him. I think in addition, he really knows us well. Like, he's been right in the center of this place. And I think that helps a lot in terms of picking a candidate who is likely to be relevant to our needs and also can explain us to an outsider who is interested in applying. So I would infer Nigel.
I have nothing new to add.
Bill?
Can I go ahead and put forward the motions at
Well,
one time, or
I
do we need
was
to
going to
discuss
make
first?
some comments.
Okay. Cool.
So that, having known Nigel since, I guess, the early 80s, from my first term of municipal stuff and when he worked for Huron County. And I think there's, with the family, or like his wife's family from the area, that I think that is a big plus in understanding this area so well. And his work history in Huron County, Middlesex, and the city of London really shows central Midwestern Ontario experience. But then the other experience he has across the province in what he does, what he's done in the Ontario municipal world in positions, I feel that he is a very strong candidate. And I think the timeline is what really seals it for me, that he's ready to start making phone calls as soon as he would be engaged. Dan Hughes, very competent and a good, strong firm. But in that extra 5 or 6 weeks, whatever, that just draws the process out. And that, so that, and basically, I think we would be restricting ourselves to rating people too close to us if we relied on the third firm, so that, because the big part of their experience is right in the nest in a radius of Listowel. So that I think that's my comments. I think it's pretty evident the way I'm leaning. But if you want, do you want to have an extra minute or two to go over Ravenhill, or? You're ready to make a motion then?
I'll make a motion that we accept the report and that we award the quotation to Nigel.
And you're seconding it, James?
Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Okay, so we have our direction, and I will engage Nigel tomorrow, get the process started.
Okay. Mark, 60 days on the calendar from tomorrow. Okay,
Nigel and Tom.
Okay, we're ready for confirmatory.
Yes.
Confirmatory bylaw, Councillor Vauden, Councillor Knott. All in favor? Carried. Most important, adjournment by Ray and Brock. All in favor? Carried. A very